Lighting can be one of the most challenging parts of cinematography. Not only do you need enough light to expose your scene, create contrast, and generate separation, but somehow it all still needs to feel like it naturally belongs in the space. So how do cinematographers use artificial lighting to create images that still feel natural and believable? Well, honestly, it took me years and a long list of mistakes to really understand not just the lighting techniques and principle, but how to blend artificial lighting into a scene in a way that doesn't draw attention to itself. And today, I want to share some of those lessons with you. We're going to break down why lighting often feels fake, how to create lighting that feels more natural, and I'm also going to show you some of my biggest lighting mistakes over the years. Well, I can't say that I'm exactly looking forward to sharing some of those setups, but honestly, in cinematography, like everything else, it's usually through our mistakes that we learn the most. So let's dive right in. One of the biggest mindset shifts I had as a cinematographer came when I stopped trying to completely reinvent every location with artificial lighting. Because over time, I realized that the most natural looking images often come from working with the environment instead of just fighting against it. Instead of asking, how do I light this entire scene? I started asking, what already exists here? And how can I use it to my advantage? How can I shape, control, and enhance it? And honestly, that changed everything about the way I approach lighting. There are many ways lighting can feel and look artificial, and honestly, I could probably make an entire series just on that one topic alone. But today I want to share some of the mistakes that I've personally made over the years and the lessons they taught me. Some of these examples are from early on in my career, but the truth is I still make mistakes today. Even now, I'll often look back right after a shoot and immediately start noticing things I could have done differently. Maybe I overfilled the scene. Maybe I lost too much contrast. Maybe the lighting stopped feeling connected to the environment. And honestly, I think that constant evaluation is part of becoming a better cinematographer. So let's start right away with this example. And yes, this is one of mine. I'm not proud of it, but I thought it would be important to share just because it has so many things going against it. And obviously, it is so overlit, so harsh, so direct. There's a little bit of contrast on this side compared to that side, but it's, it's so over the top. I mean, obviously it's really harsh on top of his head, it's harsh on the shoulders, but sometimes harsh lighting can work. It just depends on the environment. And here I have nothing that works for me. Like I'm just shooting against a wall. There's no depth, no anything. And my lighting is so strong compared to the rest of the background that it just looks horrific. And then it's also way too straight on. From this side all the way here, it's completely overpowered. And so I don't have enough contrast. I don't have enough fall off. I actually have no fall off. Like if you look, I just have a very harsh light, line right here versus a nice gradient. And again, some of those things could work. Like harsh lighting can work depending on the rest of the environment. I'll show you a couple of them that are not as harsh as this, but there's been time that I use harsh lighting just because it fits with the environment. Now this next shot is actually part of a video that I really love, that I really enjoyed. I thought it turned out really, really well. But this shot always bothered me. And I remember shooting it, and this is quite a long time ago as well. And I knew it wasn't working. I can almost buy her. Like, I can buy that there's a light source, on the camera side. But the problem is he's completely the opposite. And so how is she lit and then he's not? And so a lot of inconsistency contributes to lighting looking unrealistic, out of place. This is completely flooded with light. So the light must be somewhere here, going this way and kind of bypassing him and hitting her. And somehow it bleeds here too. So a big part of artificial lighting not looking right is when it bleeds over. And all it takes is some kind of modifier, whether it's a softbox or flags to make sure, or barn doors, just to make sure that that whole area gets blocked from any light that's being projected on her face. And that could be a lack of equipment, a lack of understanding, lack of time to set it up. There's all kind of excuses that we can make, but at the end of the day, it's important for us to make sure that we understand where we want to shine that light and block everything else to make sure that it doesn't bleed over. Now, this shot is interesting because you would assume that it's the same as kind of the first one I showed you, where it's complete overlit. And the reality here is I actually have no lighting at all. And this is all 100% natural light coming into this office. Obviously, we have a big window here. What we don't see is this is a corner office, and in front of that person is another giant window, and that's where the sun is, and it's just blasting all this light on him. And now he looks very overlit compared to, again, those levels outside of that particular window. And all I needed to do here was to put a diffuser off camera, put some kind of diffuser here so that we would kind of reduce the amount of light, the brightness that would come on his face, and I think we would have been okay. This is not a bad problem to have. Like, I would take this scenario every single time and just put up my diffuser and I would be okay. So just something to think about, because sometimes unnatural lighting can also be simply because it's natural and you haven't done anything, which I found that interesting, right? Like somehow using just natural light, you still have to shape it, you still have to diffuse it, you still have to create contrast, right? Like, he's so flooded with light that there, obviously we can't see the other side of his face from this perspective. But if I, rotate the camera a little bit more in front of him, we would see both sides and it would be completely even with no contrast. And so we need to think about those things when we use natural light. Using natural light still means shaping it, controlling it in order to create what we want to create. Over the years, 2 lessons completely changed the way I approach lighting. The first was understanding that lighting doesn't just mean the lights you bring onto set. It means every light source within the image. Early on, I was completely locked into traditional 3-point lighting: key light, fill light, and backlight. But during a workshop I attended, a cinematographer said something that completely shifted my perspective. 3-point lighting doesn't mean 3 lights. Every source in the environment is part of the overall lighting setup, whether it's a window, practical lamp, overhead fixture, bounce light, reflections, all of it. And once I understood that, I realized that my job wasn't simply to add light, but to shape and control all the light already existing in the space to support the image I wanted to create. The second lesson came much later, and honestly had an even bigger impact on my work: the importance of removing light. Early on, I was obsessed with adding more light everywhere, trying to perfectly expose every corner of the frame. But over time, I realized that creating shadows, controlling spill, and preserving contrast was often just as important, if not more important, than the lighting itself. Because contrast, fall off, and selective darkness are often the very thing that makes an image feel natural and believable. So what do I mean by your lighting should work with the environment? Most of the time, it's augmenting the existing lighting, controlling the spill, enhancing practicals, shaping windows, adding negative fill, preserving natural contrast, motivating sources. So let's take a look at this example here. So we have a lot of windows. Again, another example of making sure that it's the right time of day, the right setup for you to actually film those windows, because again, I don't have control. I don't have the ability to put diffusers through those windows or do anything with them. In this particular case, it was completely overcast. So the sky is going to be pure white. So I'm going to frame it in a way where I don't see a lot of the skies. I'm using those trees to kind of block as much of the sky as I can. It's okay that I have those little white spots in the sky. And so now it's a matter of using the daylight coming in, but it's not enough. I have to augment the levels in this room. And we are going to use the fact that there's this warm lamp here, this practical, as kind of like our motivation for then adding light on him, and we're going to match the color temperature. So I'm going to send some warmer color temperature on his face in order to raise the levels the way I need to, and it's going to fit because of that particular lamp. Here's another example of blending within the environment. This was shot inside of a restaurant. It's fairly dark, and it's full of overhead spotlight that just creates some very harsh light, harsh shadows. And so it was appropriate and fitting for us to then create a very harsh line here, very contrasty between the key side and the fill side, and create a very harsh edge light that matches the color that you see within the frame. If he was very soft and with very little shadows, I think he would have stand out in a way that didn't blend with the environment. And then I wanted to finish with this one. This one is the latest one. I just shot this week, actually. Here's the setup for that particular shot. And it's a great example of, again, using the natural light that's coming in and the motivation of where that's coming from, and then adding our key source so that we can control levels. It's all about controlling. If I don't have this light, I can probably expose them correctly without this light, but I'm not controlling that level. So I can't raise it, I can't lower it. All I can do is add ND filters, and it will change the entire scene. But because I now have a light that's augmenting the daylight, I can go up and down and without affecting the rest of the scene, and just control the level on his face. In this particular case, we did not have control over those overhead lights, so they were always on. And so this is actually a neg. It's black on the other side, and it's just blocking two of those overhead that were shining directly on him, and those were very harsh, and they just didn't look good. So we had to block that. And then we have our backlight, which is just a tube, a little warmer color temperature than the daylight. And then we have the 100X that's adding levels here to the bookshelf. And it's also creating those shadows, which some people may not like, but for me, it added texture. I don't want to have this wall perfectly lit and perfectly flat. Again, that would not look natural. We understand that light comes from this window at an angle, and so it would make sense to have shadows here, because that light come at this particular angle. So I could have put a light either on this side to fill in those shadows, but I think it would have looked very, very unnatural that way. So I think the idea is to see what's available and see how you can enhance what's already happening. And so when you look at this shot, to see those shadows here, to me, is adding to the belief of, yeah, that's what it would look like. But that's added by that little light that we had on the side. The goal is creating images that feel believable, emotional, and connected to the environment they exist in. Hopefully this video gave you a few ideas, not just how to light a scene, but how to start thinking differently about light itself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you like and subscribe. And if you want to dive deeper into the technical and creative side of cinematography, be sure to check out my online course, Essential Camera Settings, where I break down how to control your camera and start creating high quality content. Thank you for watching, and happy filming.